Episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Jim here. Jim, you're the CEO of Crunch Fitness, which is a really important brand in the fitness space. It's provided a lot more accessibility for people to get involved in fitness, to really hit the kind of goals that they need to. And you've scaled out a really great and fun atmosphere as well, which is important. And you have a unique background, being someone who is a U.S. Marine, served the country. You've been able to master discipline through that, and been in the fitness space for a long time. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, you made me feel old there, talking about how long I've been in the industry.
Well, that wasn't the goal of that. So, just going back to the beginning, how did your interest in the world of fitness begin, and wanting to be somebody who was a business leader? Like, how did that passion start?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've got an identical twin brother, and while I was serving as a U.S. Marine, I did 17 countries in 6 years, all over the place. Not not many of them were glamorous places to be. And then my identical twin brother was working in the fitness business, and this was back in the day before cell phones and computers and things like that. So we would correspond with letters, and he would write letters about how great it was in the fitness business and how much money he was making and girls he was dating and how fun it was. And, I was in some remote place doing unimaginable things. And the allure just captured me that, maybe this is something that I should experience after I got out of the Marine Corps. So that was,
Mhm.
that was what generated kind of the first interest. And it all started from there.
Why did you want to be a U.S. Marine? Like, why was that something important for you to go and do?
Yeah. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question. Why did I want to be a Marine? So my father was a Marine. Both my grandfathers were retired from the Navy. My two favorite uncles, one was a Marine, one was a reconnaissance in the Army during Vietnam. So I was surrounded by these male role models that all had military backgrounds. And then I got infatuated with the movie Apocalypse Now, The Deer Hunter, these Vietnam movies, because I was born in the '60s, so these movies came out in the '70s, and in the '80s, I just fell in love with these movies, and um, the discipline, the courage,
Mhm.
the just the everything about the enterprise of being a Marine just kind of just captured me. And then again, my dad was a Marine, so I would go through, his old stuff, and it was mesmerizing for me. And I wasn't a great student. I didn't apply myself, a lot academically. My parents were very young when I was born. They were teenagers, so there wasn't a big push like college wasn't a big thing in my family, and none of my grandparents had gone to college. um, my parents had gone, but they'd gone much later in life, and nobody ever had like the college fraternity experience and everything else. So that wasn't part of my household, so I didn't feel like I had much from an opportunity standpoint in terms of doing that. And the Marine Corps looked like a great alternative, and the rest is history.
What did it feel like to serve your country? Like, I'm sure it gave you just such a deeper appreciation for all the freedom you have.
More than serving the country, the motto of the Marine Corps is Semper Fidelis, which is always faithful. And a lot of the marketing kind of terms are the few, the proud, right? So when you think about the size of the Army and the Navy, it's millions of people, right? Or over 1 million people. And the Marine Corps, when I was in, was right around 100,000. So um, being part of that organization was something that made me incredibly proud, being accomplished enough to earn the title Marine. But then once I got in, I really found that I was good at it, and I was accelerating through promotion, through opportunity. I got to do a lot of special things outside of the regular fleet Marine Corps, 17 countries in 6 years and some high speed stuff. And it just came very natural. So it was rewarding both personally and professionally. Professionally, in that I consider myself a patriotic person, but you find out, especially if you're in combat, you find out that it's not always your country first. It's usually the guy on your right and the guy on your left, and it's going through these crucibles of life together, and knowing that you're making these massive sacrifices, and you have such a strong bond and appreciation for the people that you're with, that you're really doing it for the dudes, right? And you want to show up and show out, and I mean, it was just perfect for me. It was everything I needed around discipline, courage, responsibility, physical fitness. I got into really heavy weightlifting when I was in the Marine Corps, and I wanted to look good, I wanted to do good, I wanted to be good, I wanted to get promoted, and it was an exciting time for me. And I was 18 years old, so.
Mm.
But the pride of country is probably the biggest motivator in the beginning, and then pride of your unit. We talk about God, country, and core, and those three are still, probably in that order for me. Except for my family has come up to the top of the list. But yeah, it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. I'm sure it changed you a lot too. Um, so then you just, once that ended, you got really much more into the fitness space, to my knowledge, and you started working at 24-hour fitness. Why was that such an ideal place for you to start in the industry?
I don't know that it was an ideal place, to be honest with you. It was just a landing spot. So I left the Marine Corps, and I was dating the woman who would become my wife for years, and I was on assignment where I couldn't get married. I'd signed an agreement with the Department of Defense that I wouldn't get married because of the nature of the work that I was doing. So when I left the Marine Corps, she was attending university. I moved to the town that she was in, and it just so happened that the company 24 Hour Nautilus was there, and they had a handful of gyms, and that was the company my brother was working for
Mm.
that had sent all these letters, right? So I applied for a job, couldn't get an interview. So I had to call in a favor. My brother called the CEO, a guy named Mark Mastrove, who was the founder, who's now my business partner and has been my business partner for the past 15 years. And he called like the regional vice president and said, "Hey, get this guy an interview." The vice president showed up late for the interview, was in like shorts and a tank top. I was in a suit and tie,
Mm.
and I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And then he still wouldn't he wouldn't offer me a job, and he was like, it was
Really?
just a terrible process, and I had a lot of doubt. But my back was up against the wall. I didn't make much money as a Marine. I had to make rent, I had to make my car payment and everything else. So eventually I called my brother again and said, "Hey, these guys aren't getting back to me." And then finally they gave me an opportunity, and I started at the very bottom. I started as a rookie sales counselor, cold calling leads.
Wow.
Yeah,
You've really worked all the way from there.
from the bottom. Yeah.
Mhm. So one of the things that you really spearheaded was there was a national fitness program you were involved in that I think generated something like $300 million in sales. How did that initiative, like, how did you ideate that and really take the reins there and lead it to success?
Yeah. So from 1992 to 2000, I held nearly every position. I was a rookie sales guy, then I was an assistant manager, then a general manager, district manager. Then I became the VP for a region. I had 33 gyms at that time. So I just kept climbing. Like I
Hmm.
had myself, then I had a small department, then I had my own gym, and then I had two gyms, then I had 10 gyms, then I had 33. So I kept kind of growing. And then in 2000, I think it was 2000, I got the opportunity to run the whole personal training department for 24 Hour Fitness. And the guy before me was doing like, I don't know, 90 million a year or something. And this is where I really dig back to what the Marine Corps provided me. And I'd been doing it for 10 years prior, like thinking about good discipline and order and a practice approach. And I really started to kind of identify my leadership skills, tactics, and strategies. And this idea of kind of set the expectation, train them to the expectation, right? have them train it back to you to ensure that there's clear understanding, and then hold them accountable. So this kind of loop, if you will, which creates a workflow state. I just kept on that, and I used a lot of regimen, a lot of discipline, a lot of coaching. I spent a lot of hours just developing my team and then developing a sense for what a good hire looks like. And I just continue to do that. A lot of repetition, which the Marine Corps is brilliant at. There's a lot of repetition in the Marine Corps. You get a lot of reps, right? And it started to take hold. And then people that I was developing were getting promoted, and then a rising tide lifts all boats, and I got the opportunity to run this personal training department. And then when I got it, there were hundreds and hundreds of trainers, but there wasn't a lot of organization. There wasn't systemization. It was just kind of like the trainers were, they were selling and they were servicing sessions, but there wasn't a lot of rigor behind it. So I just applied this rigor behind it, which included data and analytics and strategy and business plans and accountability. And through all of that, over the next couple of years, we went from 90 to north of 300 million in personal training sales.
That's incredible. So what you think a big aspect of it was like the discipline that you provided that just wasn't there before?
Yeah, and look, not everybody loved me because I had this Marine Corps approach to thing, which is, strong, disciplined decision making, followed by an acceptance of responsibility and disciplined efforts. All of these things lead to a greater outcome. So I ran it very much like a small unit, and we each had our responsibilities, and we were trained to those responsibilities. We each knew the accountability, and that was the expectation. The fitness business was really loose and it was the wild, wild west. So I fortunately just applied some strategies, some tactics, and have been uniformly doing that for the past 3 decades. And they work. And I think that uniformity, that being strategic, being tactical, having a mindset, being goal oriented, and really this idea of accountability is what's worked for me. But it didn't work for everybody. It worked for people who had the same mindset. So I had to identify those people. And that all stems from what I like. Think about the Marine Corps, right? You take people from all walks of life. You've got the majority of young Marines are 18, 19 years old, high school educated. They come from middle class or lower middle class families. You're not getting highly educated, very wealthy kids to join. You're getting all samples of life from all walks of life and religion, people of color and everything else. And then you have to take all of those people and get them to be mission ready. And the mission ultimately that you're training for is the possibility of war and the possibility of your own death. So think about that. When you step back from it and say, well, how do we get people to do that? Of course, it's God, country, and core. It's patriotism. It's the guy on your left and the guy on your right. It's all those things. But how do you get that to work? It's strategy, it's tactics, it's repetition, it's all of those things. And you take all of these different mindsets, backgrounds, religions, and you get them to uniformly work under one process. And I just look back at that and said, that's got to be the greatest business technique there is, that you take all this diversification and you get it unified into one mission. So I just replicated the same things, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the overlap is definitely incredible. So
yeah. And the reality is it's very hard work, and it takes a lot of time and effort. And what I've found is, like, people often ask me, well, what's the separator? The separator is being committed to it, rigidly committed to it, and making sacrifices along the way, personnel sacrifices, professional and personal sacrifices, to stay committed to that process. Because there's people, there's process, there's projects, there's profit, right? There's all these things that we talk about. And I talk often about people, planning, process, and profit. When the system works, you can stick to the rigidity of that. You've got to flex from time to time because there's humanity involved as well. But I just knew at my core that if we did all of these things, systematically, and the strategy was fundamentally correct, that it would work. And
Mhm.
I guess it's worked, right?
Yeah.
I've got a pretty good track record.
So you have this like full circle moment where you mentioned earlier working with Mark, who helped kind of get you in, into the gym space. Then you decided
Yep.
to become more of a partner with him and lead Crunch
Yep.
Fitness. Essentially, how did that transition happen?
So I was an employee of his for 15 years at 24 Hour Fitness. He was the CEO and founder, and I started as a rookie sales guy. And then I kept walking myself up the corporate ladder. And I don't know, probably 10 years in, or 92, 7 years in, I think he recognized that I might have some skill sets, and he started giving me some different opportunities, and those opportunities provided more responsibility, and I think that he saw in me that um, that there were things that I was doing that were affecting the ultimate outcome of his business, and that I had some talents and so forth. So when we sold 24 Hour Fitness in 2005, I was we had three presidents at 24. We had one in Asia and two in the US, and I was one of the presidents. And he'd seen that I'd gone from, the very bottom to, the top. And by the way, when we started, we had 11 gyms. So now in 2005, we've got 400 plus gyms.
Wow.
And, I'm leading a big part of the organization. So when we sold in '05, we stayed on for a little while. And then in '08, I just decided that after the transaction, there were multiple management changes at the very top. And I just wasn't philosophically aligned anymore and decided to leave. And it just so happened that he was leaving about the same time. And we reached out to one another, and we came up with this idea of creating this new co called New Evolution Ventures, wherein the original idea was we were going to golf 3 days a week and work 2 days a week, and we were going to develop and buy and manage different fitness companies, and have multiple companies instead of just one. So that was the kind of the entrance. So we were in yoga, we had multiple fitness concepts we were developing. We co-founded a company called UFC Gym in 2008, and then in 2009 we got a call from Angela Gordon that owned Crunch Fitness. They had like 36 clubs at the time, and they were hemorrhaging money, and they asked us to fly to New York and do an assessment. We did an assessment. Ultimately, the assessment led to a bankruptcy, of which they asked us if we would participate in ownership, taking it out of bankruptcy, and relaunching the company. So I stepped in as the CEO in 2009, and hard to imagine that was like 15 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And we franchised it with a partner of ours, Ben Midgley, in 2010, and have been growing ever since. Now we're just under 500 gyms, 3 million members, ranked number one in the fitness space. Um, but to be honest with you, there hasn't been much deviation from what I said I was doing the first 10 years, right? Just,
Mhm.
I guess I've had a knack for being able to look around corners and see what's happening in the fitness space, and anticipating trends, and I'm okay at sales. I'm okay at leadership. I'm good at finding people, and managing one and managing many is relatively similar. It just takes a little bit more time when you've got many. So we've got incredible franchise owners. We've stayed small to grow big, and our strategy has just worked under this crunch no judgments philosophy has been incredibly appealing at a time in the fitness space where our price, our offer, kind of our company constitution. We're very attractive to young, strong, and social, and things have just married up nicely. And we've, knock on wood, we'll continue to succeed in the manner that we have. And I'm just fortunate. It's been the professional privilege of my life to lead this company, and I've led a lot of fitness companies. At New Evolution Ventures, I had multiple companies, but this has been my professional privilege to lead this group.
I mean, you've been able to really grow it a lot. I think, like you just touched on before, there's this aspect that a lot of people feel welcome at a Crunch Fitness gym, and it's very much this like you cater towards a lot of the social aspects of today, while having best in class equipment and other things like that. What's kind of like the recipe for making a gym successful, and also something that can like scale like this? I know you talked about some of the points earlier, but from like the gym itself, the operation standpoint.
It's the culture. It's the
Mhm.
culture. culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? Drucker said that. And he's absolutely right. Everybody can open a box in a town. They could fill it with the exact same equipment. They could have the exact same pricing model. But the culture is the separation between success. We don't do this purely for profit, right? That's an outcome of being good at it. We believe in the no judgments philosophy. We want to be open to all comers. We want to be fun. We want to have great music, great lighting, great equipment, great classes. Our classes are amazing. World class personal training, and an environment, because working out's hard. You got to sweat, you got to go there, you got to pay for it, all those things. But we know here's the privilege that I have. I'm a sales guy at the end of the day, but I can rest my head easy on the pillow knowing that what I sell is mutually beneficial to all of our customers. And we try to do it in a fun way. We're not perfect. We're chasing perfection all the time. But is it fun? Is it rewarding? Is it effective? Is it all those things? Are you surrounded by your community? Are we building a social network? Are we allowing all people to do it? Yes. Like, we check all these boxes, and it's just such an inspiration to me to get to do this. But that's the appeal to Crunch, is that our culture is more than a tagline. Our culture is more than a marketing ad. Our culture is prevalent. It's pervasive. It's uniformly felt in all of the gyms. And that's because we've got great franchise owners who take the recipe and they replicate it in, 40 plus states in the US and 9 countries around the world, and the ability to export that. Now, that sounds like an oversimplification, and it probably is, because it's incredibly hard to run a business. It's incredibly hard. And the majority of our population is overweight or obese, which is a sad reflection of our diet, our nutritional habits, our lack of exercise, and everything else. So we're all fighting for like 2 out of 10 people that are card carrying members of a health club. And you've got a lot of competition to do that. So what's going to separate you? It's not going to be price and equipment, like I said. It's not going to be your location. It's going to be your brand. And your brand, a lot of people think, oh, that's the brand. The brand is not the logo. The brand is not the name. The brand is how you make people feel. And we take that very personal. It's a critically important aspect of what we do, is that we make people feel good about their journey, wherever they are on their journey, whether they're using GLP-1s to help kickstart their journey, whether they're older in life, they're an active aging population, whether they're an athlete, whether they're striving to be an athlete, whether they have a big event coming up. Wherever you are in your journey, we're here to meet you, and we're here to help you. And we're hopefully going to do it in a fun environment where you're like, I want to keep coming back for more of this.
Just the last question I have: what do you aspire to accomplish now? Like, what are some of the goals that you have, short term, long term? What's this big picture vision you see for yourself and for Crunch at this point?
Loaded question, right? So look, we sold the company, we sold the majority in 2019 to TPG, and they've been a great partner. But private equities, they've always had these horizons, right? A 3, 4, 5, 7 year horizon. So, there's probably a likelihood that there'll be an event sometime in the future. So professionally, I'd like for that event to be an amazing outcome for our shareholders, right? Both our employee shareholders and our sponsors. I think for me, what does success look like? It's 2,000 of these, not 500. It's 7 million members, not 3 million. It's exporting this brand more internationally and having more people get to experience Crunch. I mean, the greatest reward is, oh, I know Crunch. Like when I hear that, oh, I know Crunch. Oh, my sister's a member. She's had great success. Or my mom's a member. She's 80 years old. Like, the satisfaction I get from complimentary stories about our brand is it's such a reward for me. So I think exporting the brand internationally in a big way, continuing to grow domestically beyond, we've sold north of 1,500 franchises. I'd like to see that come to fruition. I'd like to see, 1,500 franchises and millions of members, and knowing that we're doing something good when everything else is working against people. Like, we live in an environment where There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of depression. There's a lot of uncertainty. And the unlock to me, the supreme unlock is realizing that fitness is medicine.
Uh-huh.
Fitness is medicine. It's medicine for your heart. It's medicine for your body. It's medicine for your mind. It's all of those things. And if we can get more people to embrace that, again, wherever you are, if you feel like you're overweight, that's okay. If you feel like you're underweight, that's okay. If you feel like you're a neophyte, you really don't know what to do, we can help you with that. Just move, right? Sitting is the new smoking. So the smoking we heard about in the 70s and 80s and everything that was destroying our population has been replaced by sitting. So I encourage people, just get active. Get active, a little bit of activity, whether that's on a treadmill, a bike, lifting weights. And now, again, back to fitness as medicine, we're learning that weightlifting is helping to prevent Alzheimer's, a crippling disease, right? Nobody wants to get that. Come lift weights with us, right? At a reasonable price. So I guess I'm altruistic in my kind of my passion for this. I want us to be a household name worldwide, fitness to the masses. And I want to continue to do it at the level we're doing it now and stay true to ourselves, stay true to our culture, and just be impossibly good for everyone. Just be kind and be human and be fun. Everything else is nonsense, right? So if we could do those things, that's what success would look like to me. That we continue to do it at the level that we've been able to maintain for the past 15 years.
Well, that definitely sounds good. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I know you've already had a huge impact on the health and fitness, which in America right now, we definitely need more people that are doing the things you're doing to really spread this and make it accessible, make it usable, and not just get people in the gym and taking care of their health and their bodies. Because like you mentioned, it really is a medicine today. I'm sure you're going to continue to do that with your future endeavors. So thanks for coming on. Wishing you much success.
I appreciate it, Ben. Thanks for giving me the platform and thanks for thinking that maybe I had something valuable to share. I appreciate it.